Director's take on balancing heroes and matchmaking. This was released today. A few weeks ago, we published the first in the series of updates on the game. It's crazy how much has happened since then. We launched Season 3, announced a collab with One Punch Man, and now I'm dating Genji. I feel so lucky. I wanted to dive into two topics today. Season 3 balance and the matchmaker. We feel that the start of Season 3 is in a much better state of balance than the start of Overwatch Season 2. No, it's not. We hear from players that the balance is the best it's been since the launch of Overwatch 2. No, it's not. While the game feels fresh based on all the changes made, it's been great watching that discussion, and to foster it, I'd like to give a bit more details and a bit less commentary. This is not the best this game has been. What? Let's look at the support role first. On the positive side, most supports are viable in nearly every skill tier. Brig has really popped this season and has the highest win rate for nearly all skill tiers except for top 500, where Zen takes the lead, with both averaging out to nearly 55% win rates. You heard that, chat? If you are a support player, play Brig. If you're not a support player, tell your team to play Brig. Brig Zen. On the other end of the spectrum, as are Kiriko and Moira at around 45%. This goes to show that the heroes with the highest win rates aren't always the heroes that are the most played. That's not true. When we look at who is actually being played, the top supports are Ana, Kiriko, and Mercy for nearly all skill tiers until Silver and Bronze, where Moira becomes picked quite a bit. It's counterintuitive that Kiriko has such a high pick rate at the highest levels of play. I mean, and such a low win rate. Well, that doesn't actually make any sense, right? It's because if you have, let's say you have a Mercy on one team and you have a Mercy on the other team, well, one Mercy is going to have to win and the other one's going to have to lose. So then, boom, right there, it's going to be 50-50. And then if the Mercy's a one trick, they're always going to play, they're always going to be playing Mercy in those games. While it would be fun to pick on this group, we tend to think that highly skilled players are continuing to pick certain heroes for good reasons, because they're broken. Kiriko's literally a broken character, and we're getting additional metrics for maps, team comps, and team fights to try to understand this. It's fruitful, expect to hear more about it. Tanks are in a great spot right now. Are we just not going to talk about Wrecking Ball? It's almost hard to pick a bad tank. At the top end, Reinhardt has the highest run rate of tanks for most tiers, reaching about 58% in Bronze through Platinum. At Masters and above, Sigma edges him out and sits at 55% in top 500. Ball is struggling a bit. No. Oh, I thought you said Ball. Hog is struggling a bit. Even though there are still situations where you can be successful, Winston and Zarya can perform well at certain ranks, and the rest of the roster is solid across all skill tiers. Wrecking Ball is probably the biggest tank topic in the community right now. Exactly, with takes varying. Some think he's overpowered. He is. And others feel that he's in a good spot. No. And still others think both. And flip-flop back and forth. His win rate is among the top 3 to 4 tanks at most tiers and bounces between 51 and 55%. His pick rate is lower than in the medal ranks, increasing as player skill rises. By top 500, he is far and away the most picked tank. And we think that this has enabled other heroes to stand out in the current meta along with Wrecking Ball. But we are keeping an eye on him and want to make sure that players don't get fatigued by seeing him too much of the little guy. They just need to kill Wrecking Ball. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. Literally just kill the character off. There has been big swings in the damage roll. From a numbers perspective, DPS feels fairly balanced across the board. And in Season 3, it's been called the Season of Hit Scan by many of you. Or possibly the Season of Cassidy. Well, that's because they buffed Cassidy and Cassidy's now broken. Changes to Sojourn as well as buffs to a few other characters have opened the new set of heroes for people to play. Not really, because, I mean, they buffed Cassidy, made Cassidy broken, but they also buffed Wrecking Ball, and you gotta play characters that are gonna also help Wrecking Ball, like dive characters, because if Wrecking Ball slams, you play dive characters, and you dive with the Wrecking Ball, and you win team fights. Smile. Cassidy, Pharah, Widowmaker, and Tracer have all been risen in playtime. In fact, Cassidy is the most picked hero by a huge margin at all ranks except for top 500, where he's tied with Tracer, and he continues to move up. Around 30% of the matches have a Cassidy on both sides, besides Symmetra. Besides Symmetra, it's harder to talk about the most powerful heroes for DPS at middle to higher ranks. Wait, what is that? What do they mean besides Symmetra? The band that most damage heroes fall within is between a 47 and a 53% win rate. Pharah, Widow, Tracer, and Sim hover around the top. Was Sim? Sim hovers around the top in win rate? But things shift around almost daily. At low ranks, the top heroes by win rate are Symmetra and Torbjorn. Torbjorn I can understand, but I don't understand Symmetra. It's always Symmetra and Torbjorn. In fact, Symmetra typically has the highest win rate in the game for all roles at all ranks except Masters and above. So you guys heard that? If you guys want to climb, Symmetra. So far, what I'm hearing from this is your supports are going to have to be Brig, Zenyatta. Your DPS have to be Torb, Symmetra, and your tank has to be Reinhardt. That's apparently what meta is right now. And Ball, apparently, because he's the most picked. Sombra at the lower end of power did have a significant lift this season, and the win rate about around 46% at Diamond and above. With the current state of the game, we're not looking to be doing balance changes until our mid-season patch. We made some big seasons to the matchmaker this season. The primary goal was to optimize the pairing of players to minimize the MMR difference within a specific rule. For example, when making matches, we put more emphasis on the DPS players on each team being closer in skill than we do for the DPS players on one team being evenly matched with the tank players on the other team. This has worked, and matches have a much tighter skill delta between players of the same role. For an example, when making matches, we put more emphasis on the DPS players on each team being closer in skill than we do for the DPS players on one team being evenly matched with the tank players on the other team. That doesn't make any sense, because I had a diamond player earlier today, yeah. Like, I'm not trying to be toxic or anything, because it's not the player's fault, but no offense, you're a diamond player. No, like hear me out. No offense, there's a huge area between a diamond player and a top 500 player. Like, it's two different worlds. A diamond player should not be playing in a top 500 game, and it's not the player's fault. It's just it's the game. Like, I can understand one specific SR range. So like, if I'm GM, the lowest I should ever have in my game is a Masters, and if you're Masters, the lowest you should ever have is a Diamond, but the highest you should have is a GM. If you're Diamond, the lowest you should have is what's under Diamond? Plat? Yeah, it should be one. It should be one in each direction. So Plat and then Masters. That's how I feel like it should be. There has been some other positive effects to these changes. In ranked, queue times have dropped, and for high skill matches, they have dropped significantly. Average. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'd rather wait long. I'd rather wait an extra minute or two for a better high quality game and a closer game than a shit stomp. Like, games lately have either been you either get fucking rolled or you do the rolling. Last game was actually kind of good. Average match quality has also risen across the board. Also, matches with longer queue times are typically of a higher quality now than they were previously. Wow, they should do more of that. Previously, the longer the player waited, the looser our restrictions of the skill difference could potentially be. This is still true, but that range should be more condensed. However, there have been some downsides to these changes, some of them unforeseen. Queue times have risen a bit in quick and unranked. Who cares? It's unranked. And for players with a large skill differentials, they have risen quite a bit. We made changes here, and queue times for unranked are already moving lower. It's unranked. Who really cares about unranked, right? And we're also heard from players that they're experiencing large win/loss streaks in the game. To be clear, we don't try to cause or prevent streaks based on an ideal win rate for players.
Yes, they do. They force a 50% win rate for everyone.
We're studying these reports, and we'll share information when we get it. The issue that we were hearing from our players is encountering people from vastly different skill levels in the ranked games. Prior to season 3, the worst 5% of grandmaster level matches would have seven divisions apart. What the fuck? Wait a minute. No, that's not true. That is not true. 7 divisions apart, the equivalent of gold 3 to silver 5. That's not true. Because if I'm GM1 and I get a fucking diamond 5 on my team, that is not 7 divisions apart. We have made numerous changes. Oh, sorry, I skipped one. We initially shipped 2.3. This leaped to... When we initially shipped 2.3, this leaped to 12 divisions apart or greater. What are you smoking? We made numerous changes since then and are making changes almost daily, and that has been reduced to 9 divisions. Way too much, bro. Is it way too much? We have additional changes planned for the mid-season patch that should further improve this. Wait, what is... So it's 9, right? So if you're Diamond 5, 5 would be Master 5, and then another 4 would be Master 1. Okay, so that's how it should be, right? That's what we were literally talking about. So if you're Diamond 5, the lowest player you're gonna get is a Platinum 5, But the highest player, I mean, sorry, platinum, yeah, platinum 5, and the lowest player you could get is a platinum 5, but the highest one you could get is a masters 1. That's not too far. I don't think that's way too far. What's way too far is you being in GM1 and you getting a diamond 5 player. I'm not gonna count how many divisions that is, but that is way too far. I don't know. I have no idea about you guys. I don't know what kind of type, like what type of players that you guys are getting in your games, because I guess it's different SR, but I feel like, in my honest opinion, I prefer longer queues that are gonna make the game more fun to play. Also, I used to wait 20 minutes for a game in Overwatch 1. So, I mean, that's way too long. So I don't mind waiting an average of like 4 to 8 minutes. Right now, it's like a minute.